Subscribe Nightmare Network and press the bell icon to listen horror and scary stories regularly.
I don't remember exactly, but I think I was around 19 years old at that time. I was very fond of driving. We shifted to a new house in Mexico. My school was quite far from there. It took around 2 hours to reach my house from school. I think it was after that day. It was a weekend. I was smoking some weed and I was driving very fast. I was alone in the car and coming from a friend's party. His house was near the school. As I told you, it took 1 or 2 hours to reach home from my school. There were a lot of gas stations on the way, but I was in a hurry. I chose to go to the first gas station that came in my way. The first gas station was far from the population. I parked my car there. I thought I would take some cold drinks and snacks so that my journey would be easier. I parked my car there. The whole gas station was empty. There was no one around. I couldn't see anyone. I went inside the snack store. There was an old man sitting on the counter. He was around 50 years old. He was watching something on his phone, something like a movie or a video. He didn't pay much attention to me. I went inside. I started looking for my food. As soon as I reached the side where the bottles were, I took out a cold drink. I started looking for snacks. I noticed that the things I was picking up, a man was also picking up the same things. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. That man was tall, black, and I think middle-aged. I took a cigarette box too, just to sure if he was really behind me or not. As I picked it up and took a few steps, he did it too. He picked up the cigarette too. I started feeling a little weird. Does this man want something from me? I asked myself. I reached the counter. I kept all my stuff. The old man was making a bill. He was scanning the product's barcode. The same man was standing behind me. He was staring at me. I didn't know what to do. I turned around and asked him, "Do you need anything from me, sir?" He kept quiet for 5 seconds and kept staring at me. Then he spoke something out of his mouth. "No, boy, I am just enjoying myself here a little." I turned around. I apologized for my misunderstanding. I said bye to both of them and left. I was going towards the car. The car was standing in the dark. I couldn't see it properly. I turned on the car from a distance through the keys. As soon as I got close, I felt a little cold inside the car. You won't believe it. As soon as I opened the door of the car, I turned on the car. As soon as I left the gas station, I looked in the mirror. You won't believe it. The same man was sitting in the back seat. He was looking at me and smiling. Really? What that creepy man doing in my car? Does this man want something from me? He was smiling. I stopped the car with full brakes. The car slipped. As soon as I stopped the car, I asked him, "What are you doing in my car?" He was just smiling from behind. I felt dangerous, so I took out a gun from the bonnet. I pointed it at him. He also had a gun, and he already pointed at my stomach. I was very nervous. I asked him, "Do you want money from me?" "I will give you money," he told me. "I just want to go home with you. I want to stay with you. I don't understand what this man wants." I took a chance and turned on my smartphone without letting him know. I called 911 from my mobile. I finally able to call them. The operator was listening from the other side of the phone. "If I try to escape, what will you do?" I asked him, and he said, "I will shoot you." I was in complete faith that they will get my location, and it was true. I was still in the car and managed to keep that guy calm. He was just laughing and talking nonsense. And finally, the police siren sounded. I pushed him with one hand. His gun fell down. I got out of the car. I sat on the back side of the car. The police car came. They took the car. That man was still inside. He was laughing and looking very calm, as if it doesn't bother him. Anyways, the police pulled him out. I asked him, "Who are you and what you want from me?" He was still just smiling. Cops took him away from me in their car and I was safe. That laugh still scares me. Even today when I think about that day. I don't understand. How did he get into my car? And most important, how he managed to get there. Even I was the first one who get out of that store before that man. This happened when I was 25. I was driving from North to South Texas, and because of my work schedule, I could only travel late at night. Most of the drive was along Route 281, which made for an easy, straight route. But staying awake was the challenge. Exhausted from work and hitting the road right after, I had to stop frequently at random gas stations for coffee to keep myself going. On my third stop, I started feeling sleepy again and needed to fill up my tank. I pulled into the first gas station I found on the desolate side roads. I can't recall if it was a Sunoco or Shell, but there was only one other car in the parking lot. I parked next to one of the pumps and went inside. There were two people in the shop, the cashier and a guy pacing down the aisles. I went to the coffee maker and poured myself a cup. The pacing guy came up to me and said, "Careful, it's hot," before leaving. It was a lame, creepy attempt at conversation, and I wasn't in the mood. I didn't reply and took my coffee to the cashier where I paid for it and my gas. The guy came up behind me while I was paying and said, "I really like that top." I replied, "Thank you," just loud enough for him to hear. He then asked, "Where are you heading off to so late at night?" By this point, I was so annoyed that I firmly told him to leave me alone. The cashier, a 40-something Hispanic man, didn't seem to understand much English, or wasn't reading the situation. He was also smaller and shorter, so I doubted he would intervene. The man behind me said, "Calm down," after I asked him to leave me alone. I left the shop without another word and went to my car. A few seconds later, I heard the door open again. I was next to my car, preparing to fill up the tank. As the gas started pumping, I heard footsteps on the concrete on the other side of the pumps, which then stopped. I glanced over and saw him standing there, just watching me. He wasn't filling up gas. There wasn't even a car there. I started considering grabbing my pepper spray from the center console. The guy asked, "Are you alone?" When he asked that, the situation became much more serious. I replied, "No, my boyfriend is in the car." I opened the door and quickly grabbed the Kala pepper spray from the center console, holding it at my side while pretending to still focus on pumping gas. The man was inching his way around the gas pump, coming closer to my side. He said, "I don't see anyone in the car." I pulled out the pepper spray and aimed it at him. He laughed and backed away, claiming he was just trying to make conversation. He walked backwards, still focused on me. Just as I finished pumping gas, I felt and heard a clang. The gas had stopped. My tank was full. I had about $6 in change to collect, so I had to go back inside. The man was between the shop and me, so I had to make a choice. I decided to get my change, keeping my arm up and pointing the pepper spray at him. He continued to back away, chuckling. When it was safe, I turned my back to him, went inside, and asked the cashier for my change. I told the cashier that the man was making me uncomfortable, but he didn't seem to understand. Once I got my change, I looked out the glass door into the parking lot before leaving. I didn't see the man outside. I was scared to go out, thinking he might be hiding somewhere. I stepped outside and stayed on the little sidewalk, looking around. The man was gone, which meant he was definitely hiding. Eventually, a pickup truck pulled into the parking lot and parked next to one of the pumps. A large man with a beard stepped out, and I went over to him, asking for help. I asked him to check if anyone was hiding behind my car. He was confused, but did it for me. He got to the other side of my car and yelled, "What are you doing?" The creepy man then hurried away from behind my car, running into the darkness surrounding the gas station. I thanked the man profusely, and he said in his thick southern accent, "Be careful out there." I quickly left the parking lot and continued my drive. That creepy guy was definitely waiting to pounce as soon as I unlocked my car doors, and that really disturbed me. A few years ago, something strange happened when I was staying at a hotel. I was on a trip with my best friend Linda, and this occurred on our fourth night there. We were staying a bit outside the city because it was cheaper, though the area seemed pretty nice. Late at night, we decided to go to the gas station for some snacks, but Linda's boyfriend called her and they started chatting for a while. So, I decided to go on my own. The area around the hotel was mostly a few other businesses that were closed at that hour, except for the Misa gas station that was open. I left the hotel and walked down the sidewalk to the gas station, which took about 5 minutes. The streets were deserted. Inside the gas station, there were quite a few people, probably around 10, and the store was larger than most. There was a huge selection of snacks and drinks. I spent about 5 to 10 minutes picking out some items, paid for them, and left. Nothing seemed strange or suspicious while I was inside. As I exited, I heard the door open and someone leaving behind me. I didn't think much of it at the time. But as I left the parking lot and got back on the sidewalk, I noticed that the person was following me. I glanced back and saw a man in a gray sweatshirt and winter hat walking a ways behind me. We were both heading towards the hotel along a quiet back road with no real reason to be walking there, unless you were going to the hotel. I hoped he was just another guest. I reached the hotel parking lot, and the man was still following me at the same distance. I walked into the lobby and he followed me in, trying to avoid being in the elevator with him. I headed for the stairs, figuring that if he was staying at the hotel, he'd take the elevator like most people. But he followed me to the stairs. Once I was in the stairwell, I let the door close. Seconds later, I heard it open again. He was definitely following me. I walked up to our room on the third floor, texting Emily to come to the door and open it. She replied within seconds, saying she would. I reached our floor and let the door to the stairwell close behind me. I was about 20 feet down the hallway when I heard the door open again. I couldn't believe the man was still following me. Our room was a bit further down, so I quickened my pace. I could hear his footsteps approaching fast, but I didn't look back. Soon, I saw our door open slightly with Emily holding it. I practically ran to the door, quickly slipped inside, and slammed it shut behind me. It automatically locked, but I secured the additional old-fashioned lock as well. Peeking through the peephole, I saw the man walk right up to our door. He lingered for a moment, then walked away slowly, only to return a few seconds later and knock on the door. I wasn't about to answer it. I moved away from the door, and Emily, confused, asked what was going on. The man knocked one more time before finally walking away. I explained everything to Emily. I was so grateful she held the door open for me. Otherwise, I would have had to unlock it myself with the key, which would have slowed me down by at least 5 to 10 seconds, giving the man a chance to catch up. I have no idea who he was or why he followed me, but I'm certain he wasn't actually staying at our hotel. You won't believe this, but this happened to me a month ago. I'm a 19-year-old boy, my name is Martin, and I used to work at a gas station. Currently, I'm working at a restaurant because I have to change my job. Due to the incident that happened to me at gas station, I can't forget that time. And it was quite horrific. I think it was a weekend and it was a little windy that day. I needed money because my friend's party was coming up. So that day there was an opportunity for me. The opportunity was that my boss asked me if I can work overtime because the other boy was off that day. So I was asked for a shift. I accepted that offer and agreed on to do overtime. The overtime continued till 3-4 a.m. in the night. At the time, I was using my mobile phone inside. My boss told me that he has to go now. He told me to take care of everything. He gave me the keys and go away. Anyway, some time passed and a man came inside the shop. He looked like he was drunk. He came and told me that he needed some beer bottles. I pointed at bottles area and told him that he will find beer on the other side. He went there, picked up 6 bottles, and came towards me. He gave me a $100 note, which was obviously not allowed because we won't accept such a big bill at the gas station. So I told him to pay me $10 or $15. Obviously, his beers bill was not too much large, so I didn't need such a big note for that. I needed a small note in which his bill will also be covered. He didn't like this when I told him to not accept that bill. He became angry and kept looking at me furiously. I ignored this thing, but he was still staring at me. I asked him if he was okay. He kept looking at me and didn't say anything. I thought he would leave. He gave me the money and picked up his bottles. Before going out, he hit his leg on the glass door, and the door started shaking. I was thankful that the door didn't break, although the glass could have hurt him, but he was a madman. When he went out, I started shouting in order to get the required money that was to pay for beers by him. I was about to go out of the counter. As soon as I went out, I didn't see that man anywhere. I thought he was after me. Anyway, I had to pay that bill of 6 beers. I accepted it and went inside quietly. I was using my mobile phone inside. Suddenly, I heard someone sprinkling water. I heard footsteps too. When I looked out of the window, I saw that man. He took a can of oil and sprinkled it all over the gas station. Can you believe this? He was sprinkling oil all over the gas station. He was trying to burn it. I picked up my mobile phone. I called 911 quickly. I told them that someone is trying to burn out the gas station. They said that they will come to me in 10 minutes. I hung up the phone. I could smell the oil all around me. I was afraid that he would light his lighter and set it on fire. But he did the same thing. He sprinkled oil all over the gas station and set it on fire. The gas station was on fire. I am thankful to God that the gas station was not connected to the road. Anyway, the gas station was about to explode. Yes, because he also threw some oil on the road, and the fire was burned on the road, not over the gas station area. I was afraid that he would light his lighter and set it on fire in the gas station side. He came near the gas station area again and put his lighter and was about to ignite it, but a police officer was running behind him. He grabbed him by the neck and put handcuffs on him. I can't believe that if he had set the gas station on fire, I wouldn't be telling you this story, obviously, because if he had set the gas station on fire, no one would have been able to save me that day. My boss consoled me. He paid me for the overtime. He consoled me and said that I can go home. I can take leave for a few weeks. I didn't feel ashamed about it. I took my money and told him that I wouldn't come to work anymore because I care about my life. I don't care about money. I don't put my life in danger for money. I quit my job and I am working in a restaurant now.